right, Mike Petraglia will be along in just a minute. He's doing his job right now with the Bengals. I know they got a lot of different injuries. They just cut a guy, so they got all kinds of stuff after that big win over the Kansas City Chiefs. They are tied in the AFC North right now at 8-4 with the Baltimore Ravens after starting the season in some dire straits, and everybody thought, oh my God, they went to the Super Bowl and they're getting smoked. But no, beating the Kansas City Chiefs for the third time in 2022 is a huge victory. But still, I truly believe the Chiefs at 9-3 still the best team in the AFC. What say you?
I don't know, man. After yesterday, I really like Cincinnati just like I did before that Super Bowl started. And it's not
and the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah. The AFC is going to be stacked, and it's going to be fun to watch the AFC Championship.
Although the Titans kind of took a step back.
Yeah, I'm just a believer in Burrows and those weapons, man. I think they're great.
All right, Mike Petraglia joins us next from CLNS Media, covers the Bengals, everything in the Midwest, and was in the East for 20 years. Mike, how are you, buddy?
Hey, Mike.
I'm doing well, guys. How are you?
Good.
I'm outside the Bengals locker room, as a matter of fact.
All right,
I speak to you right now.
There's a lot of news going on with Cincinnati after the game. They're making a lot of moves. I know they said goodbye to one of their longtime stars, and so tell me what's going on right now after that big victory.
Well, they just released Kevin Huber, a 14-year veteran of the team, and he's a punter, and on a lot of teams that wouldn't be big news, but here in Cincinnati he has been one of the team's leaders through good times and bad, and he's, as Darren Simmons, the special teams coordinator, just told us a couple of moments ago, he's been through so many rides through the highs of the early 2010s with Andy Dalton, the lows when they were not good in the late part of the last decade, and now getting to experience what the Bengals went through last year, a Super Bowl run, and now the team's doing well again. But it was time to move on, so they had to do that. And they have an Ohio State guy, another Cincinnati guy, as their punter, and Drew Chrisman. So That was the news of the day, essentially. The Bengals are also dealing with the fact that they may be without their tight end, Hayden Hurst, for a little bit. He is doubtful for this week against the Cleveland Browns with a strained right calf. But the city is abuzz after yesterday's win over Kansas City. There's no doubt about it. The Bengals made a lot of mistakes in that game, but in the fourth quarter, they were the better team. They executed in the clutch, made a couple of great defensive plays down the stretch, and won the game that I think could have ramifications come playoff time.
I'm making a little bit of this. Maybe I'm just head over heels about the team, but doesn't it say a lot that they beat Tennessee without Jamar Chase and they beat Kansas City without Joe Mixon?
No question, but I would say beating Tennessee without Jamar Chase was a bigger deal. The way Samaje Perine is running the ball for the Bengals right now is nothing less than sensational. He has been exactly the kind of attitude you want in a running back who sets a tone, a physical tone, and that's what Perine does. Anybody who watched that game and saw the face guard, the face plant that he gave Justin Reed, of the man of the predictions. We're going to lock him up, all the Bengals receivers during the week, and there's Samaje Perine, a running back, face guarding him, face planting him into the turf. That's the kind of thing you want to see from your running back. I think at this time of year, cold weather games, you want to see a running back who's going to be physical, hit the hole very quickly, and make positive yards, and that's what Perine has given them. But they're going to get Mixon back this week. He is expected to be out of concussion protocol by Wednesday, so they'll have 2 or 3 healthy running backs again for the game at home against Cleveland.
Tell me more about Joe Burrow. I know the team always talks highly of him. They love him, but he seems like a very serious guy when it comes to playing football. What's he like? I mean, practice, things like that. Is he all business all the time, or does he ever have a moment where he's just kind of cutting it up?
Well, it's funny, Dips. With Joe Burrow, he's Joe Cool, but he's also Joe Loose, and he doesn't have a lot of other priorities in his life. He just started a foundation this year, but he doesn't have a lot of other priorities besides just playing football. I mean, in that essence, in that regard, a lot like Tom Brady early in his career. All he did was kind of focus on football and is obsessed with, winning that first Super Bowl. I think coming so close last year has really lit a fire under Joe Burrow. He knows how close this team is. He knows how many weapons he has at his disposal. And the thing that I've noticed about Joe Burrow, whether it was the 0-2 start or getting down in games, come late third quarter, fourth quarter, he doesn't panic. He doesn't change who he is or what he does. That 3rd and 11 pass to T. Higgins, the window was incredibly small.
Right.
As Zach Taylor said today, you couldn't have thrown it a centimeter either way and have had that completion to Higgins to seal the game. Joe Burrow is like Tom Brady in this regard. When the game gets bigger, he gets more clutch. And that's what I would tell you about Joe Burrow. And I think that just comes from a personality of not making anything bigger than it is. Don't think about making the situation bigger. Just perform when the situation calls for it. That's what Joe Burrow is.
All right, you mentioned Tom Brady, which is New England Patriots, and I wanted to ask you this question, so this is a great bridge to do it. Patriots aren't playing that well. You put it more on the young quarterback, Mac Jones, or Patricia calling the offense?
Look, I mean, I'm sure it's a combination, but it's more Matt Patricia. I don't get the Matt Patricia experiment and, obviously have, a mountain full of respect for Bill Belichick, but I don't understand why you go with an offensive coordinator who, at the beginning of training camp, there were rumblings of discontent in the quarterback room with the Patriots, and the Patriots, switching Mac Jones to a different offense for the 3rd time in 2 seasons. He just doesn't look comfortable, and I think the frustration that boiled over at the end of the game against the Bills last Thursday night is self-evident. They're not on the same page. I don't think Mac Jones believes that the way Matt Patricia calls the game is conducive to doing what like Joe Burrow would do, and that is throwing the ball vertically down the field. If it's 3rd and 11, let's throw an 11-yard, 15-yard pass. Let's design something that'll get that done. Instead, you're throwing, a pass 5 yards down the field and expecting a receiver or a running back to beat the defense. And more times than not, that's not going to happen.
Talking to Mike Petraglia from CLNS Media, their schedule not easy. Even the Browns, they have trouble beating the Browns. They got beat earlier by the Browns, but that was without Deshaun Watson. Then it's Buccaneers, Patriots, Bills, Ravens to finish out your season for the Cincinnati Bengals. Tell me about Deshaun Watson and the Browns coming to town next week.
Well, defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo spoke to us about a half hour ago, and he said that Deshaun Watson's going to run the same offense that Cleveland runs, and that means you're going to still see a lot of number 24. Number 24 is Nick Chubb, but Deshaun Watson is somebody who put up some points against the Bengals, 2 years ago when he last played in the game before yesterday. He's capable of finding targets downfield. Donovan Peoples-Jones has burned the Bengals big time in the last couple of games. So the Bengals are going to have to find a way to get some pressure on Deshaun Watson. He's similar, not identical to, Patrick Mahomes in terms of his athletic ability, his ability to run with the ball. So the Bengals are going to have to, find a way to certainly, spy him a lot in the same way they did with Mahomes, but get more pressure on him and expose some of the rust that Deshaun Watson showed yesterday in that game against Houston. The Browns won that game, but it wasn't because of Deshaun Watson. And I think, the Bengals are confident that they can find a way to confuse Deshaun Watson and put pressure on him.
Nobody talks about these linebackers, Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt. I feel like they're a couple of the best ones in the league.
I have said that all season long, and I thought that they are one of the more. It is one of the more underplayed stories about these Bengals and their defense. I think that what you saw yesterday from Jermaine Pratt is the physical tenacity to rip the ball out of one of the best tight ends, not only of this generation, any generation. It was Kelsey's first fumble of the year. Think about that. In that moment, when the Bengals absolutely positively needed a turnover, Jermaine Pratt was not only able to strip the ball, he held Kelsey up long enough before he hit the ground, stripped the ball, and recovered it. He is a great tackler, plays with great downhill force, and he doesn't, when he gets a guy in his sights, he usually doesn't miss the tackle, and that's what you want from a guy like Jermaine Pratt. Great in coverage, reads the middle of the field incredibly well. He is a terrific player, and Logan Wilson is one of the smartest players on the defense. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. He was playing under the weather yesterday. Didn't have one of his greatest games in terms of covering, the backs out of the backfield, but still a terrific player. I think the combination, you're right, Dibbs, combination of Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt, one of the best in football.
All right, let me ask you about some of the MLB news. Verlander goes to the Mets. You got DeGrom goes to the Rangers. Trey Turner goes to the Phillies. What are the Red Sox going to do?
What's the word I'm looking for? Low ball, Xander Bogaerts. That's apparently their game plan. And I don't think it's going to turn out well for the Red Sox. I think this is going to turn out to be a PR disaster. It's certainly going down that path. I know Pete Abraham of the Boston Globe tweeted out that one of his sources, when he asked one of the sources, did the Red Sox screw this up? The source said, yeah, pretty much they did. But, they could still recover and either sign Xander Bogaerts. But if they don't, what's interesting and fascinating to me about this is how tied in Rafael Devers is to this. And I don't think that Rafael Devers wants to sign if they lose Xander Bogaerts. And it'll be very fascinating to me to see where the Red Sox go from here. If they helping out the catcher from Oakland, they've been rumored to be in on. I think that would be, perhaps a way they can save some PR in the face of what is going to be a nightmare if they lose Bogaerts and Devers, or if they lose Bogaerts and Devers comes out and says, I'm not ready to sign a contract right now, meaning he doesn't want to sign with the Red Sox.
We were talking about Judge in the mix of all these signings, and Dibbs was bringing up the point, this could be bad for Judge the longer he waits. What is going on in that market of the world where, you're seeing Trey Turner sign for 11 years, you're seeing DeGrom put up big money again. If Judge is the big fish, if he waits longer, is he going to get less of a deal, or is it going to really push these suitors into making a bigger deal soon?
I think Judge is going to get what he's going to get. I don't think what's happening around it, because Aaron Judge is such a transformational player, a generational player. It may have, let's say, a 2 to 4% impact on what he gets, but I think overall the team that wants Aaron Judge is going to go get Aaron Judge, right? I don't think that's going to change one way or another. I really don't. I do think that some of the smaller or the middle market teams, a team like, let's say, St. Louis, would they dabble in adding a guy like that if they even had a chance to, a lineup that already has Nolan Arenado and obviously Goldschmidt at first base? Do they do something like that? St. Louis always fascinates me as a team that comes out of the woodwork. You don't think, they operate like a smaller market team for most of the year, and then they come out and shock the world with a deal like that. It's probably not going to happen, but keep an eye on a team like a St. Louis, team like Houston. But I still think Aaron Judge goes back to the Yankees. I don't know how you guys feel, but that's where I'm at on that.
All right, I'll buy you a beer if he goes back to the Yankees. I'll take the Giants. I think he goes to the West Coast. They have to do something with the Padres and the Dodgers. I think they overpay for Judge, and he wants to go home and get away from the Yankees. That's my own opinion.
Yeah, and obviously what happened in the postseason with the boos and whatnot. Yeah, that certainly had an impact on Judge. And it not only had an impact on him, what was fascinating to me is how many of the Yankees were furious with that. And I'm like, boy, back in the day, Dibbs, the 70s, 80s, when you played, the 90s, That was what New York fans prided themselves on. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. And that, the tables have flipped in that regard.
You are the best. Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask real quick. We want to keep our coach around. Jim Moore Jr. has done a great job with this college football program here at UConn, and so did Luke Fickell. I mean, you can't say enough of what he's done for Cincinnati. Probably put him in the Big 12 himself, but now he's going to Wisconsin. Was that simply money talks, or was there more to losing Fickell at Cincinnati?
Okay, that's a great question because Scott Satterfield of the University of Louisville was introduced today as the Cincinnati Bearcats' new head coach, and he will not coach in the Fenway Bowl against his former team, Louisville, Cincinnati, in the Fenway Bowl on December 18th. But anyway, I think it will be more about what Luke Fickell thought about the Big 12. I don't think the Big 12 as a football school is going to be that strong going forward. And, you do have Baylor, you do have Texas Tech, but I don't think it will be as strong going forward. I think Luke Fickell saw the opportunity to move to another Power 5 conference that has a brighter future in the Big Ten. You get USC, you get UCLA, probably more nil money with regard to Wisconsin than you're going to get at UC. I think all of that factored into Luke Fickell leaving. It's unfortunate. I think a lot of people around the Cincinnati football program are very disappointed by it, and they're looking at a guy like Scott Satterfield. They're going to take a wait-and-see attitude here in Cincinnati.
You're the best, Mr. Petraglia. Thank you so much for your time, and get back in there.
Yeah.
Get back in that Bengals locker room. Don't miss any stories.
Gentlemen, I'm heading back into the workroom, which is immediately across from the Bengals locker room. Thank you.
All right. Thanks Mike.
You bet.
Mike Petraglia from CLNS Media. Check out his podcasts and all the other stuff that he does as well. What's that Bengals one? Jungle Roar podcast that he does now in Cincinnati. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll do Dibbles and Bits next. Brought to you by Awaken 180.